problem worse. You know, I think there is an incredible amount of bipartisan agreement outside of Washington, D.C. on immigration.
Right here.
If you get outside of Washington, D.C., if you actually visit America, you discover, number one, overwhelming bipartisan agreement that we've got to get serious about securing our borders. That it doesn't make any sense, especially in a post-9/11 world, that we don't know who's coming into this country.
That's right.
We don't know their background, we don't know their criminal history, and that doesn't make any sense at all. And secondly, I think there is widespread bipartisan agreement that we need to improve and streamline our legal immigration system. That we need to remain a nation that doesn't just welcome, but that celebrates legal immigrants. But the unfortunate news is this Gang of Eight bill that just passed the Senate doesn't do either one of those. This Gang of Eight bill is a partisan bill that is designed to fail. And this Gang of Eight bill, if it became the law, would only make the problem worse. You know, 1986 was the last time the federal government passed comprehensive immigration reform. And at the time, Congress told the American people, we got a deal for you. Now, anytime Congress tells the American people that, you know we're in trouble. And in 1986, what Congress said is we're going to take the 3 million people who are here illegally now, and we're going to grant them immediate amnesty. And in exchange for that, we're going to secure the borders. We're going to fix the problem. We're going to stop illegal immigration so that after 1986, the problem is going to go away. Well, we all know what happened. In 1986, the amnesty happened, and yet the borders never got secured. The problem never got fixed. And so now, 3 decades later, we're sitting here with Congress offering the exact same deal.
Yeah, right.
Except instead of 3 million people here illegally, now it's 11 million.
At least.
And Congress is saying, we want to grant legalization first, and then sometime maybe in the future we'll kind of sort of secure the border. You know, the attitude of Congress reminds me of the old character from Popeye, Wimpy, who says, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. You know, we might have been foolish enough to fall for that once in 1986, but we're not foolish enough to fall for it again. As an initial matter, any immigration reform needs to secure the borders first. It needs to fix the problem. You know, I stood on the floor of the Senate and listened to Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer say that with the passage of this bill, I'm shocked Senator Schumer is not beloved here. He stood there and said, with the passage of this bill, illegal immigration will be a thing of the past. I have to admit, I could have sworn I saw a couple of the staffers near him take about a step back, worried that lightning was going to come through and hit him as he said that. But you know what? If he's right, then he should be perfectly fine with securing the borders first. If he's right that this will fix the problem, then this will be a very different conversation once the borders are secure and we manage to stop illegal immigration. And I'll tell you, towards that end, we have launched a national petition at securebordersnow.com. Securebordersnow.com. Hundreds of thousands all over the country have gone online to securebordersnow.com and sign up and say, no, fix the problem first. Stop kicking the can down the road. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest victims of an approach that continues illegal immigration are the millions of people trapped in this system. When we were debating this bill in the Senate Judiciary Committee, I invited Senator Schumer to come down to my home state of Texas. Come visit the border. I always enjoy people from Manhattan telling me what the border is like. But I invited all of the senators on the committee, come down to the border, visit with the farmers and ranchers who no longer lock their homes at night. Why? Because every week people are coming illegally across their property. Desperate people, people who are starving, people who are dying of thirst, and they'll break in a door trying to live. The farmers and ranchers have learned it's easier to leave your door unlocked and just let them take what they want rather than having to repair the door over and over and over again. I encouraged the senators on the Judiciary Committee to visit and see the bodies of the men and women that are recovered in the desert, as women and children entrust themselves to coyotes and drug dealers who sexually assault them, who abuse them, and who leave them to die in the wilderness. Let me tell you, anyone who supports a system that continues to incentivize illegal immigration is doing the absolute opposite of the humane step. There is nothing humane in an immigration bill that would result in not 11 million, but 20 million or 30 million people here illegally in another 10 or 20 years. Those are human tragedies, and we need to fix the problem. Let me tell you about one other problem in the Gang of Eight bill that, oddly enough, the mainstream media has declined to report on, which is the intersection of the Gang of Eight bill with Obamacare. Under Obamacare, if a business hires a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident and does not provide that individual with government-sanctioned health care, that business pays a $3,000 IRS fine. Now, that fine is not deductible on the business's taxes, so for the business's perspective, it's $5,000 effectively. Those who are here illegally, who are granted legalization under the Gang of Eight, are exempted from Obamacare. So there is a $5,000 penalty for hiring U.S. citizens and legal immigrants, and zero penalty for hiring those who are here illegally. Now, I want to talk about a couple of examples of how this will operate in the real world if it becomes the law. Imagine a small business, Joe's Hamburger Shack. 100 employees, it's got 5 locations. Now, let's imagine business is doing pretty well. Joe decides he's going to hire 5 new employees. If he hires 5 U.S. citizens, he'll pay a $5,000 IRS fine for each one of those U.S. citizens. That's $25,000 a year Joe will pay if he decides to hire U.S. citizens. On the other hand, if he hires 5 people who are here illegally, who have been legalized under the Gang of Eight, he pays 0. Let me ask a simple question. Who's he going to hire? Let me give another hypothetical. Let's suppose Joe's business is not doing that great. Let's suppose it's hard times. Joe's got to cut back. And he decides that he's going to forcibly reduce the hours of 25 of his employees to 29 hours or less to get under the 30-hour threshold for Obamacare. That's something we're seeing businesses all over the country do, forcibly reducing people's hours to get out from the cost of Obamacare. Now, if Joe reduces the hours of 25 U.S. citizens, or if Joe reduces the hours of 25 legal immigrants, Joe saves $5,000 a year for each one. $125,000 a year. If Joe reduces the hours of 25 people who came here illegally, Joe saves 0. Whose hours is Joe going to reduce? Look, I got to tell you, the idea that Congress would enact a $5,000 IRS penalty on hiring a U.S. citizen or hiring a legal immigrant makes no sense whatsoever. If this bill is passed, it will increase